Tonight, exclusive, the moment heavily armed police take down an accused Bayside killer. Speed camera operators under attack in Melbourne's north. Victoria rallies to help a family torn apart by a head-on tragedy. Melbourne ice cream shops, the latest targets of an unfolding turf war. David Warner reunited with his lost baggy green, leaving the Aussies tickled pink at the SCG. And the bargain price new holiday deals luring Melbourne families north.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. An accused Bayside killer has laughed in court after being charged with the murder of a disabled man he'd never met. The 27-year-old suspect was arrested by specialist police in a precision suburban takedown.
Police were taking no chances in the arrest of a suspected killer. Sending heavily armed police to Moorabbin to take down Harrison Hilton Taylor. He's accused of fatally stabbing disabled man Spiros Filides in the middle of a Bayside street. The 27-year-old eventually surrendered and was led into the back of a police van in front of shocked locals.
We noticed the undercover police car around the corner and we're like, oh, that's a bit weird. All of a sudden there's 4 police cars, 2 highway patrols, 2 undercovers, and then they all get out and surround the house and start screaming. The house is surrounded, come out. 7
News understands police were called to Hilton Taylor's address earlier on Tuesday over an unrelated matter. But intelligence led officers back there after the alleged attack on the cancer survivor, killed on his way to Southland Shopping Centre.
He was a frequent shopper at Southland Shopping Centre. I think a lot of the community knew him, just big smile, always in a good mood walking around Southland. It's devastating.
There were bizarre scenes in court as Harrison Hilton Taylor appeared via video link. He tried to grab the camera, laughed throughout the hearing and at one point pretended to be asleep. He'll face court again in May as the homicide squad appeals to the public for dashcam vision. They're urging anyone who travelled along Bluff Road in Hampton East between noon and 1 p.m. on Tuesday to come forward. Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
A road safety camera operator has been caught up in a frightening attack in Melbourne's north. Police say a pack of 5 men jumped on his car before pelting him with rocks in the latest attack against Serco workers.
Out of the darkness, 5 hooded men creep up on this mobile speed camera and launch a violent attack, hurling rocks and repeatedly smashing a wheelie bin into the rear windscreen, sending shards of glass flying, ambushing the lone worker inside.
I do feel very, very sorry for the person in the car. It's just awful.
Horrific, an absolutely horrific assault.
The mobile camera was parked on Nicholson Street in Coburg at 12:30 this morning when the offenders struck. Separate security vision seen by 7 News shows one of the attackers leaping onto the bonnet and stomping the front windscreen before jumping onto the roof, shattered glass showering the operator inside the car.
He sustained shard glass cuts to hand and arms, mostly as he moved out of the passenger side where he was targeted into the driver's seat of the vehicle to try and escape.
Today, crime scene investigators spent hours combing the scene and dusting for fingerprints.
It's completely unacceptable that the government is missing in action when it comes to the safety of these government contracted workers.
This is the latest in a spree of violent attacks against mobile speed cameras, despite many operators warning drivers of their locations as part of industrial action for better pay and safer conditions.
Safety is paramount for these workers, and the government needs to look clearly at its road safety messages because it's not getting through.
Police have investigated similar attacks at Parkville, Epping and Hoppers Crossing in recent weeks, but won't confirm if any arrests have been made. Christy Mayer, 7 News.
Victoria is rallying to help the family caught up in a deadly head-on collision near Geelong. Rochelle Brown has the latest from the Royal Children's Hospital. Rochelle, the surviving daughter's condition is improving.
Mike, 7-year-old Willow is in a stable condition and is showing some positive signs tonight, but there's still a long road to recovery ahead. Her 12-year-old sister Mia was killed when police say a white Holden Commodore swerved onto the wrong side of the road along the Hamilton Highway at Stonehaven. 7 News understands the man behind the wheel has a dangerous history of hooning. Friends say the Rossiter family were on top of the world before they were torn apart by the horror crash. Die-hard Cats fans, they relocated to Lismore, west of Melbourne, just 6 months ago, achieving a lifelong dream of opening a cafe. They were all hit in the car while they were travelling home. Parents Paul and Danny and daughter Willow are all separated, receiving treatment at 3 different hospitals. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help with the family's expenses until they can work again. More than $17,000 has been raised so far. The driver has now been released from hospital and is being questioned by detectives. Mike?
Rochelle, thank you. A popular Williamstown ice cream parlour has been gutted in the latest arson attack on a Melbourne business. Ainsley Kosh is on the scene. Ainsley, detectives are convinced it's the work of firebombers.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. The family-run gelato business went up in flames just before 4 a.m. The flames so strong they tore through the roof, damaging a man's office space upstairs. It's the 4th attack on ice cream shops in the area in recent months, and locals are worried.
A high-angle mission to save a popular ice creamery firebombed in the dead of night. Locals heard glass smashing around 3:45 this morning before Capriccio went up in flames.
It was a really big scene. We couldn't believe what's happened. I was thought, is it a dream or not real?
Worried neighbours raised the alarm, rushing outside to safety as the fire tore through the building.
We're very quick. We're really very quick. We could smell it throughout the whole house really quick.
It took 16 firefighters 3 hours to extinguish the blaze as flames crept upstairs into the office space above.
Once fire takes hold in an old structure with a lot of timber, we could have a significant fight on our hands.
A nearby ice cream competitor has been hit by arsonists 3 times in the past 14 months, the attacks leaving locals on edge.
Williamstown is a very nice place to be, very safe. It's like something's not right here.
We always come and get ice cream after school, and so it's upsetting to see another business that's gone down as well.
The owner didn't wish to speak on camera but told 7 News in his 20 years of running the business he's never had any trouble and doesn't know why his shop would be targeted. Arson chemists and detectives have seized bags of evidence, including an axe and petrol cans.
I approached the council. I said, please, can we have some cameras just for safety of other shops and residents?
The council says it's working with police to prevent crime in the area. Ainsley Kosh, 7 News.
An out-of-control car has left a big damage bill on Amor Road in St Kilda. Police say a driver sideswiped a parked vehicle, then crashed into another, pushing it into a third car. The original vehicle ended up on its side, with the 42-year-old driver suffering only minor injuries. No one was in any of the other 3 cars. More than a dozen thrill seekers have just been rescued in a roller coaster emergency on the Gold Coast. The passengers were trapped for more than an hour, 50 metres above the ground, after a scarf became entangled on one of the ride's wheels. Staff jumped into action, placing the passengers in harnesses and assisting them off the carriage and down the emergency staircase one by one. There are new pictures just in tonight from the Tokyo tarmac disaster. They showcase the incredible bravery of the Japan Airlines crew to get every passenger out alive.
It is Tokyo's newest ghoulish tourist attraction, 2 twisted and charred monuments to a disaster. Only temporary though. They were cleared from runway 34 today and Haneda Airport is slowly returning to normal. New pictures provide insight into the professionalism of cabin crew who helped save 379 lives. Hold your nose and mouth and stay low, shouts one attendant multiple times. Children are frightened. Please open, begs one. For 18 chaotic minutes under immense pressure, they administered first aid and used torches in the smoky darkness as a mother with a harnessed baby gets on the floor. Both are wearing masks and Mum produces her phone, perhaps what she thought could be her final goodbyes. Today, Japan Airlines revealed attendants performed one other crucial duty.
The pilot felt a sudden shock and struggled to stay on the runway. A fire broke out, but the pilots didn't recognise it in the beginning and learned about it through the cabin attendant.
The captain was the last one off. Fresh surveillance pictures show the Coast Guard Dash 8 having entered the runway before stopping. JAL 516 landed 40 seconds later, nose still in the air as the impact ignited a fireball that would kill 5 crew on the smaller plane. An air traffic control transcript suggests the Dash 8 had been instructed to hold short of the runway, but investigators will also examine whether a broken stoplight contributed. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
Economists are warning new home builds will fall to their lowest level in more than a decade. A perfect storm of rate rises, material costs and a shortage of tradies is fueling the downturn.
The Australian dream, a detached home on a quarter-acre block surrounded by garden.
We've got a 30-year mortgage that doesn't strain the weekly pay packet.
Is now a standard of living out of reach for many.
The rise in the cost of building a home has been compounded by the increase in the cash rate.
The cost of building up 11% from 2022. The price of timber frames, terracotta tiles and steel jumping by more than 50% during the pandemic.
Obtaining these materials was very hard, so therefore it's very expensive. So delays itself on a project costs an arm and a leg because of the interest, especially now.
Despite this, the government is promising a bumper period.
We need to put shoulder to the wheel, all levels of government, including local government.
An ambition to build 1.2 million homes from 1 July 2024.
That's 240,000 new homes every 12 months for the next 5 years. Economists believe will fall well short this year, building just 179,000.
This will be the slowest year for new detached housing starts since 2012.
As energy-intensive materials become more expensive.
Everything is going up. Glass, bricks, concrete, labour, under this government.
Besides a critical shortage of tradies, suppliers believe one of the biggest problems is delays in building approvals.
The workflow of the whole process, where it starts from drawing at council, and that's where the big issue is.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius is just hours from being released on parole after serving half his sentence for killing girlfriend Riva Steenkamp. The 37-year-old has been in prison since October 2014. The ex-Paralympian's parole conditions will last 5 years. He must be at home at particular hours. He cannot do media interviews or drink alcohol and must participate in parole programs. Pistorius claimed he shot Riva Steenkamp when he mistook her for a burglar, but was eventually convicted of murder. More famous names have been revealed in newly released court documents linked to pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. It's claimed he liked to brag about being friends with stars like Cate Blanchett and Leonardo DiCaprio, even though there's no proof he knew them.
A blockbuster cast of fake friends, sex offender Jeffrey Epstein boasted he knew to one of his alleged victims. He would be on the phone a lot, and one time he said, "Oh, that was Leonardo," or "that was Cate Blanchett," or "Bruce Willis," that kind of thing. So name dropping, the lawyer pressed. Yes. There is no evidence he ever actually knew any of those celebrities, but Epstein did once run in powerful circles. Tonight, claims former US President Bill Clinton threatened Vanity Fair not to write sex trafficking articles about his good friend J.E. But the magazine says it categorically did not happen. The allegation was made in an email sent to a journalist in 2011 by Epstein and Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Giuffre.
I know what happened, and there's only one of us telling the truth.
The unsealed court documents are part of her settled suit against Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime girlfriend and accomplice, who is currently serving 20 years.
Part of this is understanding who helped facilitate the trafficking, who was around, who knew about it.
Epstein was arrested on sex trafficking charges in 2019. He killed himself in jail while awaiting trial. But questions linger about his connections. High-profile names are littered through the unsealed files. It does not mean they're accused of wrongdoing.
There's a lot more to come. This beginning part is a small percentage.
More documents will be released in the coming days. In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
David Warner has been reunited with his lost baggy green, but its movements remain a mystery. The feel-good return kick-started a powerful day in pink at the SCG.
On the day that was supposed to be all about pink, a flash of green.
It's been found. The cap has shown up.
The PM thrilled.
Fantastic.
It was a sporting mystery up there with the death of Farlap, the disappearance of David Warner's baggy greens.
I am pleased and relieved that I've got my baggy back in my hands.
The bag in which they were packed was found at the team hotel in Sydney with all the contents inside, said Cricket Australia. The movements of the missing bag are unknown despite extensive searches.
My mail is that they went to the baggage area yesterday and there was the bag. It was down the back of the couch, Tim.
But the area had been searched. Was the bag stolen, then returned? No one's saying.
There are two words that explain this. One's David and the other one's Warner. Wherever there's David Warner, there's headlines, mystery, confusion, sensation.
A sensation that almost overshadowed Jane McGrath Day. The SCG, a sea of pink, 32,000 spectators.
Just to see the crowd coming in, everything awash in pink, is absolutely brilliant.
The Prime Minister also drumming up support at the McGrath High Tea.
This is an extraordinary legacy that has assisted more than 120,000 families.
The goal is lofty, that every breast cancer patient has access to a specialist nurse, and the pink punters are making it happen.
We just get pinker and picker every year, and we've already started to work on our uniforms for next year.
Players too, from both teams, those caps to be signed and auctioned. Maybe now they could auction one of David Warner's baggy greens. That would make plenty of money for the McGrath Foundation, and after all, he's still got at least two, including the original.
Any cricketer knows how special their cap is, and I'll cherish this for the rest of my life.
The cricket itself, evenly poised, the longer it goes, the more money they raise. Tom Saker, 7 News.
Well, speaking of the cricket, a dramatic final hour has put the Aussies in the driver's seat. Abbey, Gelmi, what a finish to day 3.
And Mike, things were on a knife's edge in Sydney. Pakistan was digging in before Josh Hazlewood ran riot at the SCG.
Another one! Can you believe it? 3 wickets in the over.
Plus, the bold Grand Slam prediction for an Aussie star living the high life as Rafael Nadal is left just a touch red-faced in Brisbane. And we also have what may well be the buzzer beater of the year from the NBA.
OK, thanks, Ab. See you soon. Every second of a pulsating police chase has been captured from the air. Up next on 7 News, how the suspect was cornered and taken down. Also ahead, a close call for Australia's luckiest food delivery driver. Denmark's Queen on her final gold carriage ride before Princess Mary steps up. Later, the bargain-priced new holiday deals luring Melbourne families north.
And I'll have your weekend weather details coming up later on 7 News.
Police are on the hunt for an armed man accused of threatening a fast food worker with a knife in Melbourne's southeast. The masked thug paused at the front counter for a few moments before pulling a weapon from his pocket. He fled with a small amount of cash at 6:30 in the morning on November 22. The man was last seen wearing a black hooded jumper, face mask and white plastic gloves. No one was injured. An attempt to pull over a stolen car has sparked a pulsating police chase across Perth. It ended in front of startled factory workers, with the 2 fugitives caught after a long and risky pursuit.
Running through a crate factory, police catch the final suspect of a chase through Perth's southeast. Earlier, they'd followed a stolen Toyota Prado from the air and tried to stop it on the ground, erratically racing through 5 suburbs.
And I heard a smash and he just kept going. Wow, they're in trouble.
Was it scary?
Yeah, it was pretty scary. It left me with goosebumps at the end of it.
A broken, flapping bonnet frustrating the 2 men inside. An attempt to rip it off the first time was unsuccessful. Eventually, the passenger finds the strength to pull it from its hinges. But the driver's clear vision didn't translate to clear advantage. A fence and trees brought the Prado to a halt. The car cooked, it was time for a foot race. One man gave up, out of breath and out of chances. The other ran further but was eventually grabbed inside the factory as workers in high vis went about their day. One of the accused is 29, the other 41. They face several charges, including driving while suspended and reckless driving.
Please do not move!
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Australia's luckiest food delivery driver has survived a close call with a car in Brisbane South. The rider drove straight into the path of an oncoming vehicle and despite being thrown from his bike, he wasn't seriously injured. There are fears the death toll from the Japan earthquake disaster could exceed 300. Hopes of a miracle beneath the rubble are fading for the 250 people still unaccounted for.
In the precarious ruins, the race to reach the quake survivors. Loved ones overwhelmed as paramedics treat the elderly man, carrying the scars of days trapped. Rescue crews throughout the disaster zone working as quickly, as carefully as they can to find and free them. Here, a woman in her 80s was rescued, conscious, from this home 72 hours after the earthquake struck. But these teams know, after 3 days, the chances of survival are slim. The number of people listed as missing growing to more than 200 unaccounted for, including 3 children. Almost 800 people remain stranded, including some 60 tourists at this rest area, struggling to stay warm with their cars running out of fuel, the road cut off in both directions by landslides. The New Year's Day earthquake triggered so many of them, like this one in Wajima. People yell for others to run for their lives as they watch the mountainside crashing down, destroying everything in its path. To get around the wrecked roads, the Japanese military delivering relief supplies by sea. As residents return to see what the earthquake left behind. My house was here, right here. Everything is gone. In the rubble of where he lived and worked, all Kohei cares about is his cats, with his sister leaving food and water, hoping they can be found where so much has been lost. I just want my cats to be okay. Paul Kadak, 7 News.
Denmark's Queen has enjoyed her final ride in the 24-carat royal gold carriage before officially giving up her throne later this month. Queen Margrethe embarked on a short journey from the palace to Parliament for a traditional reception. She'll step down on January 14, handing the crown to Prince Frederick, with Australia's Princess Mary being elevated to Queen. A short video of a long queue is exposing Melbourne's housing crisis. Up next, hundreds are desperate for this rental as these homes sit empty for years. Also ahead on 7 News, a chilling discovery after a deadly school shooting. The big freeze trapping drivers in their cars for 24 hours. And high praise from an America's Cup winner for the 8-year-old Melbourne sailor who's just beaten up the grown-ups. Real estate agents and local councils are taking aim at the Allen government over its empty house tax. They claim it's had little impact on easing Victoria's housing crisis as queues for rentals grow longer.
A new year, even longer queues for rental property inspections. So many, so desperate.
Nervous. Nervous that we lots of competition.
Adding to the heartbreak, many homes lying empty for years, 5 within 50 metres of each other in Box Hill North, according to a local councillor.
We don't have a housing crisis, we have a vacant property crisis, Nick.
A tax on homes vacant for more than 6 months was intended to force owners to rent. But The Age reveals last year only 1,013 homeowners were taxed $11.3 million, more than a third in the city of Melbourne, and just 40 in the city of Whitehorse, barely scratching the surface here.
There are thousands of homes vacant, and that was proven by the census data that shows it. Properties that are unoccupied.
He says some homeowners are not self-reporting as required.
Well, the tax isn't working, clearly. The tax isn't being enforced, and the tax isn't being collected, and the outcome that the government's trying to get, which is to get these properties on the market, isn't working.
We showed those trying to rent the empty homes.
Yeah, okay, that's very frustrating that they've just been sitting there and nobody's picked them up.
Yeah, come on. Give it to somebody.
Real estate agents say the tax is actually reducing the number of rental properties.
I've never seen investors getting out of residential properties like they are at the moment.
It's a rat race. Everyone's trying to get somewhere just to live and get a roof over their head.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
A teenage gunman has opened fire, killing a child and injuring 6 other people at a high school in the US state of Iowa. The attack unfolded on the first day of the new term. Some students were forced to flee while others boarded up classrooms to protect themselves. The child killed was a 6th grader.
Officers located during the search of the school an improvised explosive device. The shooter has been identified as 17-year-old Dylan Butler, a student at Perry High School.
The explosive device was dismantled and no others were found. The gunman took his own life. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for 2 suicide bomb attacks in Iran that killed more than 100 people. Concern is growing about a widening war in the Middle East, with the US targeting a militia commander in Iraq.
Crowds in Tehran shout death to Israel, death to America, 24 hours after twin bombings killed dozens of civilians. But today the bloodshed was claimed by Islamic State. The extremists say 2 operatives detonated explosive vests during the commemorative service for Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian commander assassinated by a US drone strike 4 years ago.
Certainly in no position to doubt that claim by ISIS-K.
Dispelling suspicions, Israel was behind the attack, but doing little to quell fears the Hamas war is breaking out of the Gaza border. Vast crowds gathering in the Lebanese capital Beirut for the funeral of Hamas chief Salah el-Arori, killed when an Israeli drone strike struck a Beirut apartment. Hezbollah vows it won't go unpunished. As attacks in the Red Sea by Houthi rebels intensify, US and allies are reportedly considering targeting militants inside Yemen.
This is about freedom of navigation, and the attacks are completely unacceptable.
America's Secretary of State Antony Blinken making another dash to the region hours after the US launched a strike killing an Iranian-backed militia commander in Baghdad.
Abu Taqwa is actively involved in planning and carrying out attacks against American personnel.
Iraq's military considering it a dangerous escalation. In the United States, Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
A whiteout has left more than 1,000 motorists stranded in their cars overnight in southern Sweden. The armed forces had to deliver food and water to drivers stuck on a major motorway which was blocked by heavy snowfall. The country is experiencing its coldest January in a quarter of a century, with temperatures dropping to minus 43 degrees in some areas. Mary Poppins star Glynis Johns is being remembered for a stellar 60-year career after her death at the age of 100.
We're clearly soldiers in petticoats and dauntless crusaders for women's votes.
After her first role in 1948, Johns was also nominated for an Oscar for the 1960s Australian classic, The Sundowners. Taking a look at finance now, the ASX 200 has closed down 5 points, rounding out its worst start to the year in more than a decade. Trade is on edge ahead of the latest jobs data out of the US due overnight. Tech stocks were the worst performing, financial shares bucking the trend. One Aussie dollar is currently buying just over 67 US cents. An 8-year-old Melbourne boy has just become Australia's newest and youngest sailing champion. His achievement even attracting attention from our greatest ever yachtsman.
This 8-year-old has just upstaged the old salts of sailing. Will Rose steering his yacht to victory in the national titles. 9 races across 5 days, the youngest to ever win. For other kids his age, it's unfathomable.
They don't really believe me that I'm a state champion and now an Australian champion.
Unbelievable for sailing royalty John Bertrand too, the first and only Australian skipper to win the America's Cup, even calling to personally congratulate Will.
Hi.
Will, yes, my name is John Bertrand.
Well, I thought it takes decades, but this kid's doing fine. He's 8 years old, for goodness sake. He can hardly spell his name, and he's just won the national championships, 125 class.
Will's parents have taught him everything he knows on the water. His dad, Stuart, by his side for the victory.
It felt fantastic to sail with my son and to see him grow in confidence and improve his skills. It's great.
It's kind of confusing, but whenever I push it away, it goes the opposite way. Whenever I push it towards me, it goes that way.
This is just the beginning for Will. He's hoping to have another big year with plenty of solo races planned, even wanting to defend his national title in Brisbane. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
If he gets a love of the sport, which clearly he does now, then he can go a long way in the sport if that's what he wants to do.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
Well done, Will. The Sunshine State has been battered by storms. Now it's launching a new cut price campaign to lure Victorians to Queensland for a holiday. Also ahead on 7 News, a mum's mission to protect Melbourne toddlers. A bizarre ocean find from the boys from Bondi Rescue. And how AI is driving an Elvis evolution. A 10-day road closure will affect motorists on the Westgate Freeway. The outbound exit from the Westgate to the M80 Ring Road is shut from next Wednesday night for resurfacing and upgrade work. And buses replace trains on the Mernda line between Reservoir and Epping from January 11 to 21. That's to remove a level crossing and build a second rail bridge for trains travelling to Mernda. A grieving mother is calling for a ban on button batteries after her daughter died swallowing one. Products are now required by law to have new resistant battery compartments and warning labels. But over the past 18 months, more than 130 products have failed to meet those standards.
Tragically, 3 young Australian children lost their lives, and that was one of the key impetus for the introduction of the standards.
I watched my daughter throw blood up for 24 hours with no one listening.
The ACCC has issued infringement notices to 6 businesses. New holiday deals are on offer to lure Victorians north as Queensland fights to recover from a damaging flood season. Discounted airfares and accommodations are up for grabs, but there are calls to extend offers to other hard-hit tourism hotspots across Australia.
It's the Sunshine State, but the past month, Queensland has been in a state of disaster. Cyclones and flooding hitting the far north hard.
We missed out on our peak season. That dropped away to 40s and 50% occupancies.
Now some relief for tourism operators.
Nearly 90% of businesses are open and ready to take visitors. What we need now is those visitors.
A $5 million move to make it happen.
The Australian and Queensland governments have done a deal with Qantas and Jetstar,
bringing heavily reduced fares on travel from mid-January to the end of March this year. The cheapest, Brisbane to Cairns, one way for just $79. It's $109 from Sydney and just $10 more from Melbourne. Travellers from Adelaide and Perth can also get there for under $150. Meanwhile, Qantas is also offering nearly half-price flights to Townsville from along the east coast. There will also be cut-price accommodation packages in coming weeks through Qantas Hotels and Holidays, My Queensland and Luxury Escapes.
While it's good news for tourism to the north, it's still unclear if that same help will extend south of Brisbane to the Gold Coast, a region that has already been ravaged by wild weather.
I think it's a great idea to do that. I'd want to tap him on the shoulder to do discount flights to the Gold Coast as well.
To help hard-hit tourism hotspots get back on their feet. Ned Barham, 7 News.
Lifeguards at Bondi Beach have made a rescue of a different kind after a kilogram of cocaine washed ashore. The package was spotted off North Bondi and handed to police. 50 kilograms of cocaine have been found on beaches between Sydney and Newcastle in the past week. Detectives are now trying to find out who the drugs were destined for and where they came from. The king of rock and roll has been resurrected, well, kind of, thanks to the power of artificial intelligence. A life-size hologram of Elvis will take to the stage in London later this year in the concert series Elvis Evolution.
Like the sweet love of a choir, and you light my morning sky, burning love.
The technology was developed using home video footage and thousands of personal photos of the superstar. Sports next with Abbey, Gelmi and Abs. The Sydney Test has been flipped on its head.
Well, Mike, a staggering 15 minutes has put a clean sweep within reach for Australia. Coming up next, more frustration for Steve Smith and just how a rampaging Josh Hazlewood left Pakistan on its knees. Also, why Rafa Nadal had some explaining to do as an Aussie giant slayer gets the rockstar treatment, and how the Joker turned the thief, stealing an incredible last gasp victory in the NBA. Welcome back. Josh Hazlewood has ripped through Pakistan's middle order to give Australia the ascendancy at the SCG. The Tourists had a 14-run lead heading into the second innings before Hazlewood took 3 wickets in the second last over of the day. Pakistan 7 down with an overall lead of 82 runs.
His baggy greens recovered, Dave Warner, teammates and the Tourists donated pink caps for Jay McGrath Day. Debutant Siam Ayub lucky not to damage a knee, Marnus Labuschagne standing tall.
Glorious shot.
Labuschagne 50, Steve Smith eager a ball of black tape be removed from the sight screen. Ground crew member Michael had the crowd tickled pink, Smith seeing red.
Taken.
Convinced a puff off the pitch played a part in his undoing for 38, Labuschagne done for 60.
Oh, got him! Through him! Pakistan are right back in it.
Travis Head trapped in front for 10.
Umpire says out!
Watch the ball, mouthed constantly by Mitch Marsh, deeds matching words. If only Alex Carey could lip read. Cleaned up for 38, top scorer this series, Marsh made 54. Australia all out 299, Pakistan in front by 14 runs. Rookie all-rounder Amir Jamal snaring his first 6-wicket haul. Left arm loaded, Mitch Starc fired.
Bowled him! Late swing back in. That is an absolute seed from Mitchell Starc.
A pair for Shafiq. Josh Hazlewood snared captain Shan Masood for a golden duck. A Pakistan fight back counted first by Nathan Lyon. Travis Head's part-timers snaring Babar Azam for 23. Head's good mate Carey sharp behind the stumps. Hazlewood doing serious damage in 1 over. Not 1, not 2.
Got him! Chops on!
But 3 wickets. Pakistan suddenly 7 for 68. The Tourists lead 82 runs. Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
India pulled off the fastest Test victory in history, beating South Africa in a match that lasted just 642 deliveries. Captain Rohit Sharma took aim at the apparent double standard of Indian pitches compared with the rest of the world.
Brilliant performance from him. Wonderful. I honestly don't mind playing in pitches like this, as long as everyone keeps their mouth shut in India and don't talk too much about Indian pitches.
The series was shared 1-1. Scott Boland insists he remains in the mix for a call-up against the West Indies. Tomorrow night's game for the Stars at the MCG will be his first in almost 2 months after carrying the drinks in the Test squad.
Their view hasn't changed in me, and still the next one in. So it's a pretty tight turnaround between those 2 tests from Adelaide to Brisbane. So hopefully I get a game.
Aaron Finch has flagged a potential coaching career after confirming he'll retire at the end of the Big Bash season. The Renegades had their slim finals hopes dashed by the Hurricanes. Ben McDermott's 6 got stuck in the Marvel Stadium roof. Hobart chased down 148-run target with 8 balls to spare. After taking down Novak Djokovic, Alex de Minaur has been given the rock star treatment as Australia goes all out for United Cup silverware. Meanwhile, not even a time violation could stop Rafael Nadal from putting the tennis world on notice.
A late night arrival for Australia's United Cup team, a private jet from Perth to Sydney provided by Tennis Australia for Alex de Minaur and co before their semi-final this weekend. A light hit up on court this afternoon, de Minaur knocking on the door of the world top 10. Has the time come for him to seriously challenge at a Grand Slam?
Absolutely. Well, Novak is as good as it gets, so for him to get that belief that he can go out there and play.
Up in Brisbane.
Best shot in tennis.
Rafael Nadal returned from injury hoping to be competitive. He might be more than just that at Melbourne Park. A sparkling straight sets win over Aussie Jason Kubler. Nadal into the quarterfinals at the Brisbane International. The only misstep, a time violation in between sets.
I know I have 5 minutes. Honestly, Brisbane is very humid and I had to change every single piece.
Don't go too far. We don't need to do too much. We get the idea. It's all right.
Thanks.
Defending Oz Open Women's Champion Arina Sabalenka in ominous form too up in Brisbane. Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
Matthew Dellavedova continues to push his case for a Boomers recall. The Melbourne United guard led all the way in a dominant third term as United fought back to overpower the Sydney Kings on the road. And this could well be the buzzer beater of the year in the NBA.
Jokic for the win. Oh, it's good! Jokic got it off in time, and the Nuggets win it.
Nikola Jokic with an incredible three-point shot to get Denver over the line against Golden State. In San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama and Giannis Antetokounmpo went head-to-head in an epic. Despite a clutch block in the dying seconds, it was a Greek freak and the Bucks that came out on top. I've got to tell you, if you're playing Scrabble, those two be worth a lot.
I was going to say, well done saying those names. Abs, thank you. Sonia Marinelli is here with the weather details. Son, we're starting the weekend under more spectacular sunshine.
We are, Mike, but make the most of it because it is the calm before the next round of severe summer storms. I'll explain next.
The New Year medical test for all Melbourne GPs. The official clinic-by-clinic bulk billing examination.
Massive declines in bulk billing over the last couple of years.
How much are you paying to go to the doctor?
Hitting the hip pockets of everyday Australian.
The new changes. Will it be cheaper for you in 2024? On 7 News, Monday.
As the day breaks,
the news breaks on Sunrise.
The unfolding fire emergency. Breaking news, the Middle East is at flashpoint.
Start with what's unfolding.
The winds have picked up massively.
Start with the team Australia trusts.
One of the biggest issues that's facing the country at the moment.
Start with Sunrise.
Hello again. Today, finally, the warmer weather we had been waiting all week for. The morning cloud, a little stubborn in some spots, but it did clear out to a spectacular afternoon. And those clear skies gave the mercury an extra boost. Late this afternoon, the city nudged a top of 29 degrees. There were some light showers across eastern Victoria, but it was a mostly dry day here. Tonight, we could still get a rumble of thunder north of the ranges, but it does stay nice and settled for the rest of us. In the city right now, it is still holding on around 28 degrees. That is a cracking Friday night if you're heading out soon. Eventually, overnight, though, it does cool down to an overnight low of 16 degrees. Now, this weekend, Saturday stays settled, but Sunday will bring our next round of summer rain and storms. So we've got heavy rain and thunderstorms forecast to spread in from the west. It'll be widespread, but towns like Bendigo, Echuca, Shepparton, right up into Albury-Wodonga could again be hit hard. Melbourne too is going to be impacted. That is why central and northern Victoria has been put on flood watch, and Victorians are being urged to stay up to date with the latest severe weather warnings. Here in the city, increasing rain and thunderstorms could dump 5 to 20 millimetres on the city during Sunday, and on Monday 10 to 40. And with those storms, we could get flash flooding. It is still hot here tomorrow, but Sunday now 28 and humid, then bouncing around the mid-20s for the rest of the outlook, so that summer heat will be short-lived. Okay, around the nation tomorrow, and Perth is hot and sunny. Hobart is looking fine, but Adelaide is in line to cop our stormy weather first before it then spreads our way. So tomorrow is going to be our best day to soak up the summer sunshine. The day will be warm to hot under light to moderate east to northeasterly winds, a tad milder down in Gippsland with some afternoon sea breezes, and there may be some afternoon showers around the eastern ranges and western districts, possibly a rumble of thunder as well. Closer in, and Saturday is looking spectacular with more sunshine and proper summer heat. Geelong heading for 29 degrees, but most suburbs are reaching for the low 30s. In the city, it is a top of 31 degrees, so I can imagine many of us will be flocking down to the beach. Looking ahead, rain and thunderstorms develop from late Sunday morning, 28. Heavy rain and storms on Monday, 25. Patchy showers and 24 on Tuesday, then followed by a few fine days. 24 on Wednesday, 22 on Thursday, 25 on Friday. But that's going to be our third round of summer storms in just over a week. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm going to concentrate on the positive. Board shorts are in
tomorrow,
our future.
Get to the beach.
Well, my future. Son, thank you. That's 7 News for this Friday. Thanks for joining us. For now, from the team, have a great night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.